from the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 6, streaming now.
Giving someone a seat at the table doesn't mean that you have to pick your things up and leave. Just bring a chair with you.
Addressing inequities in healthcare access when it comes to Black communities. WRTV is examining solutions to improve quality of life during a pandemic.
You say one thing, we value teachers, you're all heroes. We were heroes in May, and now, not so much. Actions matter.
Teachers want Indiana's governor to reconsider his vaccination plan, the long-term impact they think this could have on education.
What's even the greatest gift for us that we've been able to see is bridges that are getting gapped.
A mission that started with laundry is transforming into so much more. Tonight, how one grassroots organization is improving the daily lives of local families.
And good evening to you here at 6 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. Tonight, WRTV is exploring health disparities that largely affect the health of Black communities.
Our Stephanie Wade talks with public health professionals examining the systemic issues that are now being highlighted during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Last year in 2020,
we saw the world come together and stand in solidarity and say that Black lives matter.
And as experts say, the coronavirus pandemic has unveiled.
But Black Lives Matter just doesn't have to be as it pertains to gun violence or racial violence.
But mattering in all aspects like health and quality of life. According to the CDC, when compared to their white counterparts, African Americans are 1.5 times more likely to contract COVID-19, nearly 4 times as likely to be hospitalized as a result, and almost 3 times more likely to die from it.
What does it mean when you want to have access to primary care physicians or even to get to them and you can't?
Diversity and public health experts are discussing institutional and systemic inequities they say have put the Black community at higher risk of COVID-19.
There's not as much space to actually be 6 feet apart. A lot of these people are living in apartment buildings.
Access to health providers and insurance coverage.
Dr. Antonio Williams highlighting the increased risk of exposure many in the Black community face with jobs as frontline workers, either in grocery stores, restaurants, or public transit.
They're more at risk because they're exposed more, but you also have those underlying chronic conditions and these non-communicable diseases that we have in the African American community, as Rory said, asthma and hypertension and high cholesterol and diabetes.
Recognizing that we all don't start at the same place. And so we've got to acknowledge that, and we've got to make adjustments for those imbalances that exist.
They suggest we all take part in addressing inequity and help fill the gap when it comes to health disparities and improving quality of life for our Black community.
A lot of African Americans are in communities that lack green space, are not walkable communities, don't have the proper lighting, don't have parks and recreation. And we all know that they're also in food deserts. So I challenge our professionals to educate policymakers and key stakeholders in those communities, maybe pastors and others, principals and all, to start to address the reasons why people are physically inactive in these areas.
Work with places of worship, to make sure that we can, you come here to praise or to worship, but also maybe on a Saturday, maybe we can do some demonstrations of physical activity so that we can have a broader reach and meet the community where they are.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
And teachers across the state are urging Governor Holcomb to reevaluate his COVID-19 vaccination rollout. Some teachers we've talked to say they want an opportunity to get the shot, as many are back in the classroom and working with kids.
Well, under current policy, only those working in healthcare or 65 and older are eligible to get the vaccine. WRTV's Megan Sanctorum spoke with a high school teacher today who thinks educators should be next on the list.
Day after day, teachers at Avon High School continue to show up for their students. But teaching during a pandemic isn't easy.
When we look at our numbers here, we've had 524 positive cases of staff and students this school year. That's in 6 months. We've had 171 positive cases in the last month. It scares you.
That's why teachers like Susie Lebo want to be vaccinated.
Teachers feel disrespected, unappreciated.
During a press conference this week, Governor Holcomb addressed calls to vaccinate educators.
What do we say to teachers is, we are trying to be as clear as we can about how we articulate our path going forward. That being that we are looking at the folks who are most at risk of dying and or being hospitalized.
Holcomb says data shows that group is Hoosiers 60 and older. But Lebo says teachers are subject to situations others are not.
It is still scary to come to school every day with kids who are wearing their masks down here, even adults who are wearing their mask as a chin guard. My first period class today had 25 kids in it. We're 18 inches apart.
She says teachers are so desperate to get vaccinated, many have started volunteering at vaccination clinics, hoping for a chance at a leftover dose at the end of the night. Teachers in Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky are all eligible for the vaccine. Lebo says the state is already facing a teacher shortage, and she fears this will only make it worse.
To say, well, sorry, you're just not important enough for us to vaccinate you. We really want kids to stay in school, and we really want you to be in school, and we want kids to be 100% in person, and just say, yep, it's fine. You're not going to get it. It's fine. It's fine. It just doesn't fly.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Governor Holcomb says state leaders meet regularly to discuss the vaccination rollout, and for now they will continue to focus on those most at risk of hospitalization or death from COVID-19.
Along with him, some historic bipartisanship at the State House this week. We also spoke with our political insiders about that very issue Megan just explored, how Indiana teachers have not yet been prioritized for vaccination. First, though, a bill that could mean broad reform for policing in Indiana.
Police reform was a big deal, and a lot of the credit goes to State Representative Greg Stierwalt over in Avon, because he worked tirelessly behind the scenes. He's not a big show grabber or a person to grab headlines. He's a workhorse, and he really worked hard. Worked with the Black Caucus, worked with the governor's office and state police to put together legislation that went through unanimously.
I think in general, Republicans and Democrats are just seeking a sense of normalcy and less division. And we also see that in Washington with Republicans in the House really denouncing crazy, divisive conversation out there from the East Coast. But on the other hand, too, a lot of what's in this bill was already happening by law enforcement agencies. And so this is a really great PR move for them. In addition, I think I saw that there's $70 million in there for training and training facilities. So if anything, that's also a benefit for those law enforcement agencies to get some of the things that they need and want out of this bill. Look, these folks are on the front lines, just like the doctors and nurses, and we've got to get our kids back to school and protect teachers. It's a lot like the smoking bans. We can't ask somebody to risk their health for a job that they have to do, especially for teachers when it's in public policy and public interest. So Governor Holcomb needs to get on the teachers' side and get them vaccinated sooner rather than later.
Governor Holcomb is on the side of teachers. Look at what we've done with respect to funding. Look at what he's doing with respect to teacher pay. So to insinuate that the governor is not on the side of teachers, I have to push back on that a little bit. The governor is in a tough spot. Do we do teachers? Do we do frontline workers? Do we do people by age groups? And also, we've got to remember, too, there's not a whole lot of the vaccine to go around just yet, because it's still in the developing stages in some places, and there's still limited shipments. Now, once the shipments become less scarce and more available, then I think you'll see teachers sort of brought in. But also, you got to remember, too, teachers can still teach virtually. They can still do their job. They just can't necessarily do their job the way it used to be done.
Snow flurries on and off for some people today, and a whole lot of ice making for a very cold Friday.
And we're going to find out how cold tonight's going to get now from Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory. Hey, Kev.
And Mark and Amanda, you hit the nail on the head there. The snow will be in and out of the forecast over the next 7 days. The cold temperatures will be the one constant. We've had some snow showers, very light snow. From now, it's roughly from Marion to Muncie over to Winchester and Portland and Richmond, headed into the Buckeye State as that moves to the east. We've had a little break in the cloud cover. Nice sunshine there in the west earlier. The clouds starting to stream back in. We've got more in the way of some snow tomorrow. There's your cold northwest wind. You ready for temperatures in the morning? And this is really just the start of the coldest temperatures. 8 in Logansport, Lafayette, Kokomo, Marion. Otherwise lower teens north of Indianapolis and along Interstate 70. Temperatures only slightly warmer in the southern portion of the state. We've got snow that will develop tomorrow evening. Clouds increase in the afternoon, about 26 degrees mid-afternoon. There are your snow potential numbers for Indianapolis, generally around 2 inches. I'll show you more snowfall potential numbers for tomorrow night and zero in on the timing in just a bit. Amanda, Mark?
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to force so many Hoosiers to rely on services in their community as people experience job loss or other challenges.
Yeah, but those organizations that are helping are also experiencing their own barriers. Tonight, our Nicole Griffin shows how one organization is pushing through and helping families get clean clothes and so much more despite the pandemic.
Every Tuesday, families line up at the Post Road laundromat.
They provide the money for you to put in the washing machines. They provide the soap.
Joanne Reese is on long-term disability after a major back surgery in August. She's able to get clean clothes thanks to help from the organization, laundry, and more.
The money is really tight. By me not having the money to do my laundry, this helps me so much.
Abby Vetska started the organization in 2019. For her, the laundry is just a small part of what they do.
It's about connecting everyone to these different agencies, but it's also about being a part of the community.
This is a high crime area. You know, it's a lot of killings and murders over here. They give people hope. And whatever we need, they go out and they look for resources for us.
Providing everything from educational opportunities to dental resources, community partners join Laundry and More weekly.
As they celebrate 2 years, Abby says the goals for year 3 are even bigger.
Continue working with the health department to see how we can get our families vaccinated.
She also wants to provide more mental health resources.
People are miserable. They're depressed. They're sad. We've got angry kids out here, and I know that it's everywhere, but in our area, we just don't have the same resources. And so, that's one of our first big goals.
Despite being shut down during COVID and losing volunteers, Laundry and More was still able to help over 1,000 families in 2020. Working for you, Nicole Griffin, WRTV.
Well, right now, Laundry and More has a need for volunteers and detergent. Details on how to help are in this story on the WRTV app right now.
And when COVID-19 first arrived in the U.S., the way it spread and killed was a mystery. Still ahead in our Faces of COVID series, the story of a beloved man gone too soon, whose death was an early wake-up call of the pandemic's arrival.
It's a dose of March Madness on this first Friday in February. I'm Brad Brown at North Central High School. The semifinals of the girls basketball sectionals. We'll get a look at the top-ranked team in Class 4A and the defending state champs. Coming up in sports.
So many Hoosier families have lost loved ones to COVID-19, and the people who have died are more than just a statistic. Here at WRTV, we want to share their stories, the life and legacy left behind. 64-year-old Charles Henderson of Indianapolis was a family man. He married the love of his life when they were just 18 years old. They had 2 daughters and 2 grandchildren. His oldest daughter, Amy, says that he was a provider, running his own company and building the family's home with his own 2 hands. Henderson caught COVID early on when treatments weren't figured out yet. He died after 10 days at the hospital. His family wears masks that read Charlie Charlie in his honor, a beloved nickname that he earned with his fun-loving personality.
His little nickname was Charlie Charlie because he always said just silly things and everybody would just say, Charlie Charlie.
After posting a picture of the mask on Facebook, friends and family have requested them. She passed out close to 80 to people who want to wear the Charlie Charlie mask in honor of her father.
While tracking the latest data from the State Department of Health, COVID-19 activity is still steadily on the decline in Indiana after spiking in December. Overall, you can see daily reported cases of the virus are headed downward. And while we saw 49 new deaths reported today, overall those numbers continue to decline each day as well. Numbers of people hospitalized with COVID-19 also continue to decrease. Kevin.
Well, temperature is the big story. We'll get into that more in a second. We had a little break in the cloud cover and some late day sunshine, and I think that's the way we'll start Saturday, with some sunshine, and then the clouds will increase once again. Sun officially set at 6:11. The nose of the cold air is now reaching Chicago. Chicago has about a foot of snow on the ground. Temperatures running colder there. It's 9 in Minneapolis, 9 in Bismarck. The colder air will take over not just the Great Lakes and the Midwest, but really the eastern 2/3 of the country by the time we get to next week. When we talk about this cold, it's not like we're going to be breaking records on a daily basis. Setting morning records is unlikely here over the next stretch. You'd have to get to 9 below or colder over the next week to break any of the records. It's the sustained length of this cold snap, which will be 10 to 14 days. This takes us through the 19th of February, and you can see the bullseye for below average temperatures from Dallas to Detroit and from Minneapolis to south of Atlanta. This is National Weather Person's Day. I'll sing to that. Not everyone will listen, though. As far as the temperatures, they're in the teens tomorrow to start the day and finish to the north. They don't really move. 28 in the metro area, 31 to the south. Let's talk about the snow timing. After 6 o'clock in the evening, comes into western Indiana, makes its progress to the east. Between 7 and probably midnight will be the period where we see the accumulating snow that's a little heavier. And it will be a fluffy, dry snowfall. All indications are a solid 2 inches of snow with isolated higher amounts. That's gone by the time we wake up Sunday morning. But that new, fresh snow will play a role in keeping our temperatures very cold. That wind out of the northwest overnight into Sunday morning. And these are your wake-up temperatures. Wind chill temperatures. Actual lows will be around 7, but wind chills as cold as 20 below. 7-day forecast, as we mentioned, stays cold all 7 days. Chances of snow Monday and on Thursday. Many mornings, 4 out of the 7 will be in the single digits. It's Friday night, so you have a good idea of where Brad Brown may be tonight. He's at North Central for One Sport.
Yes, Kevin, we've got some tournament basketball here on a Friday night. The semifinals of the girls basketball sectionals, as we're getting a look. North Central in action right now. They are the #1 team in Class 4A, taking on Lawrence Central. They're just getting set to start the second quarter. The North Central Panthers with a big lead. Been a strange season, of course, but girls basketball, largely in front of empty gyms, have played through the season on time. Roughly 90% of the games got played during the regular season, and several states canceled basketball entirely. Around the Midwest, Indiana stands out for keeping things on track. Let's get a look at some of the others. Ohio has been able to maintain its basketball calendar as well. They're getting their state tourney game started next week. The rest of the region, though, Kentucky had to wait until January 4th to start playing. Their season shortened by more than 6 weeks. Illinois just finally started playing this past week. They will not have a state tourney. And Michigan's kids have been waiting all winter. They finally got the go-ahead from their governor to start basketball games next week. So what's been the key to success here in Indiana? I talked recently with IHSAA Commissioner Paul Neidig.
You know, I can never thank our member schools, our administrators, our coaches, the parents, the student athletes for doing everything they can to be able to participate, you know, and I like to talk about keeping the light on. Every kid had an opportunity when we played. I did. I got to put on the jersey of my high school many, many years ago, and that time is special and so formative. And giving a student athlete that opportunity is so important, and they'll never get it back.
There has been a change made to the girls' state finals weekend. They will now play one game on Friday night, the 26th, 3 weeks from tonight at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. The other 3 title games will be on the 27th. That will allow ample time to move fans in and out for those 3 Saturday games, give the facility some cleaning in between as well. They will announce which game goes on Friday after the semi-state round is done. Now, the rest of the winter sports calendar is largely made intact as well. Swimming and wrestling tournaments will continue this weekend, getting into the regional rounds. They will have their state finals coming up over the course of the next couple of weeks. And of course, we'll be getting into the boys basketball state tournament just a month from now as March begins. The Pacers are home tonight, taking on the New Orleans Pelicans, first of a back-to-back at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. The Utah Jazz will be here on Saturday. Pacers trying to bounce back from giving up 130 to the Bucks on Wednesday night. They're still just a game out of first place in the Central. Pacers won in New Orleans just a month ago in overtime. Malcolm Brogdon hit the game winner in that one. College basketball weekend getting started tonight. IUPUI is playing at Green Bay. They'll go again there tomorrow. As for all the rest, home games this weekend. Butler's got DePaul. That's a noon game on Saturday. Ball State is home against Toledo. Purdue's going for a 9th straight win against Northwestern. And on Sunday, IU's got a tough one. 4th-ranked Iowa is coming to Bloomington. And the NCAA confirming that San Antonio will host all of the women's basketball tournament starting next month, just after the announcement that Indy gets the men's tourney. The cities of San Marcos and Austin will also host first and second round games down there. The Alamo Dome was already set to host the women's Final Four. They'll also play the Elite 8 and Sweet 16 games there. That'll run pretty much concurrently with the men's tournament starting in about 6 weeks. Time for a final break here on the News at 6. Coming up tonight at the News at 11, we'll have highlights of this one and a couple more for you as well. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend.
Hiring Hoosiers is WRTV's way to help connect you with career pathways. Here's the latest jobs up for grabs on our jobs board. Home care company Home Instead is looking for caregivers to join the mission of enhancing the lives of aging adults in central Indiana. Assisting seniors, light housework, and conversation and companionship are among the job duties with this role. WRTV has recently learned more of these types of workers are needed right now. You can find this job and many others on our jobs board at hiringhoosiers.com. Kevin.
This time tomorrow evening, Mark, light snow entering western Indiana will spread east from there. 1 to 3 inches of snow expected. Should end shortly after midnight. Amanda.
Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. We'll see you at 7.